Hey, Bry Guy here with another Pixel Artist Reacts video. Today I'm going to be doing Megaman 2, which is one of my all-time favorite games. I like to play it a lot, so yeah, I think I'm going to analyze the art a little bit more than I usually do. I usually play it pretty passively, but let's see what it has for me today. Why don't we get started? Oh, that logo. Okay. Gotta listen to the music at the beginning, gets me all hyped up. It's pretty basic pixel art, to be honest, even though, I mean, for when it came out, it's really good. The base, like, lighting and like the gray there on the right side is pretty simplistic, not a ton of texture in it. But it took them a few years to become masters of the NES. Okay, I'm just gonna make sure before we play that we're filling the whole screen. I know that might make some create some odd scaling with the image. You might get some elongated pixels, but ooh, I think we see one there in the man. But okay, let's get playing. Pretty decent portraits. I mean, they do a pretty good job with the 3 speeds of particles here to give a sense of parallax, like there's more depth than there is. NES and their simple color palettes. Okay. Pretty smart use of tiles at the bottom and these walls as well to create texture. You're getting some things that they avoid later in pixel art with these blocks right above us, where they have double steps of pixels, which you don't usually see. You can see it on the far right of the bigger block, where I feel like in the future they would do a better job avoiding that. Looks like a 2-frame, 3-frame animation. Just cycling endlessly. Oh, okay. I think that's just a flipped tile, the top parts of the animation there. And the wheels look to be maybe 3 frames? 2 or 3 frame animations. Really smart use of tiles and simple animations to make a stage feel alive. I would guess that that ball is the same tile with a 2-frame animation rotated to all 4 corners of the tire. Like, they had to do such clever things with NES games to try to make the game, like, feel animated at that time with the amount of limitations that they had. The base head of these things doesn't even... It has a blink animation, and it looks like it has a hit animation, but then those things just wobble back and forth to try to create it. I don't know. These things don't have animation unless they hit you. Looks like 3 frames? Okay, let's get into the battles. Megaman himself has... Ooh, how many frames is that? Is it just 2? I don't know. I have to check that. Okay, got some nice poses. Oh, come on. One more hit. Okay. Oh, the background. You got 2-frame animations for those pistons, and you look like you have flipping animations for some of these things, and you have maybe just 2 frames for other things. This is the most frustrating thing about this game, that you can't skip this specific screen and it takes forever. Okay, let's go to stage select. Ooh, to do Bubble Man or to do Woodman? You can do either of them from here. Let's start with Bubble. 3 frames there to give a sense of the character. I think this background here is just scrolling colors. It's not actually animated. It's one static tile, and then it's alternating the tile set between the 3 colors. So you have, which gives the impression of animated water. It's a trick they used all the time on early PC games and NES games and Super NES games when they didn't have enough budget to animate something like this. In some cases it gives a better effect than if they would have tried to animate it, because you need tons of frames to animate something like that properly. They're doing the exact same thing with this water here. You can see them cycling colors between those to try to create a sense of movement with the water. Ooh, that's exactly the amount of health I need, but I'm not going to get it because it'll waste time. Okay. Oh! Okay. These guys always just go down afterwards. The shrimp bad guys, little jets on the back. Looks like 2 frames for these guys. Okay. Okay. It's kind of funny. I remember these spikes being such a challenge when I was little, but done. Okay. Big fish, smart use of, you know, turning off the eye sprite and then having a flash animation for them. 2-frame idle for the frog. When's the shoot animation? I didn't get to see it there. Maybe there's another one right here, I think. Okay, so there's, looks like 4 frames to open the mouth. These palettes are, like, insane, though. You have, like, really good use of colors. I mean, they're a little bit cruder than you would see in most games, because one thing you don't find a lot of in NES or Super NES games, well, NES games primarily, is analogous color palettes. You see much more complementary or split complementary color palettes. So, although the green to blue, for the most part, would put it in the complementary, but the tones are just pushed slightly further, and there should be like one intermediate value, it feels like, between the blue and the green. But then it would also be harder to distinguish what's ground and what's background, what you can interact with and what you can't. You have... Oh, I didn't even talk about the tile set. Nah, can't talk about everything. It's weird that he doesn't have eyes here. It seems out of character for Megaman. Okay, let's do Woodman next. I love the portraits. Like, having larger sprite pixel art of characters always gives more of a rounded sense of what a character is and what a design is. Great stacked tiles here to make the trees whatever length they want. Looks like they have one main body tile, and then they have an outskirt tile. So it looks like they have 1, 2, 3. I can see at least 5 or 6 tiles for the trees that are used, for the top layer trees, and it looks like they probably have another 5 or 6 tiles for the bottom one, although they might just flip the left and the right. No, they don't flip the left and the right. You can see more dark green on the side there that isn't over there, so they have unique tiles for all of that. Now this is just 3 tiles, and it looks like a bottom tile that they stick on each one. Interesting. That's actually just a really well-designed tile that blends into itself really well. I love the big sprites. So Mega Man 1 didn't have much of these big sprites that look... it had the jumping guy, but like Mega Man 2 really brought these kind of much larger enemies into play. And I'm sure that was technical mastery that even let them do stuff like that, because... And once again, you have the chain of balls Looks like there's two different sizes of the balls to animate them a little bit, and that's what creates the animation. And chaining together something like that to create a beam of fire that they couldn't make a straight up beam. And I mean, if I was to do this now, I'd probably do a giant beam and then animate it. But back then they didn't have those kind of resources to spend. You start to see them doing that sometimes on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, but you really don't see it much on the NES or the Master System. Usually you get your health back here if you're careful when these guys drop the eggs. It's a single sliding animation for those bad guys. Oh, no, they actually have a slight wing flap. I guess it triggers sometimes. Come on. Oh, no. Let's see if I can just spawn the bird. No, that was bad. Shouldn't have made that decision. Ooh, not looking good. Let's try this again. Okay. I usually die here. Okay. The stage pretty much contrasts warm and cool, so it uses warm for the elements that you interact with, warm colors like yellows and reds and things like that, and it uses cool colors for all of the backgrounds, or it increases the contrast, just so you always have a really clear sense of what you actually are interacting with and what you don't. Oh, jump over them. Okay. Let's do this. Okay, let's keep going. Looks like they have... Ooh. I love these little enemies, they're fun. Okay. So let's see what Woodman has to offer us visually. This is a smart use of a single animation on the falling leaf. I'm probably not going to beat him this time. No. No. Didn't do it. Sorry. This time I'm going to pay attention to his arena now that I have more health. Okay, it's mostly the same. It's using the same bottom tile, the same top tile and background tile everywhere that it was using it before. Probably get away with just getting hit by the leaf and getting a couple extra hits in. Okay. Good stuff. Next, Airman. I like his little blink animation every once in a while, just to give the sense that, you know, Megaman's idling. Okay. So, Airman. Got his little animation cycle for the spinning blades of the fan. It's really interesting because it almost like fades between those states in the clouds to make it feel like there's more animation than there is. It probably is just not fading, but creating a... it's probably tinting the actual tiles underneath and displaying both of them on top of each other. Obviously they'd have like a pure white tile, and then they have the outskirt ones. Looks like they need two or three tiles for the edges. They did the bottom of the clouds too, so probably have it surrounded by a full, like having a white tile in the middle and then having every possible iteration and just tiling them perfectly. Let's do this. So this stage actually has a little bit more of an analogous color palette, but from the blue to the, you know, this purplish hue. That's the reddish purple hue in here. It's a little bit further away than that, but they've specifically subdued it to make it more harmonious color-wise. Okay. Okay. 2 frames of animation for those bad guys. Looks like they have a little idle animation cycle on their stomach. It's really just 2 frames transitioning between. Really well thought out. It's crazy what they can do with minimalist animation. So much of the animation that I do ends up being so many frames to try to create you know, nice smooth transitions and stuff, and for this game they get away with doing so much simplistically. And it's like with pixel art you have the option of doing either really simplistic visuals or really simplistic animations or a bit of both. I know that he's weak against the wood, but it's so much harder to hit him with it than it is just to hitting him with your regular attack. I can almost always beat him better using that rather than using the wood power. Okay. I like that little Dr. Light portrait. That's probably closer to being on model than the Megaman stuff you see in this. Because they kept mostly with that Megaman, with that Dr. Light design. Because like that specifically that Megaman there that you see is so off model. Its body to head ratio is very strange. Typically Megaman's body should be maybe, I don't know, at least 25% smaller than what you see there. Okay, so Woodman, Airman, that means we are now on Crashman. This stage was always a really cool stage. This felt like you were on some other planet somewhere. Like, the fact that the ground, everything is these weird, like, pipes and... like, it's almost like a brain mesh of pipes. Like, you wouldn't be surprised if this thing could think, this stage could think. And you have these, I mean, we used to call them hamburgers when I was a kid, but, you know, they're probably flipping it at some point in time. They have at least 3 or 4 frames of animation there. Okay. Okay, hop over, hop up. These are crazy too. It's like you have this massive amount of... I mean, it's really just a couple of tiles, right? That they're using over and over again, and then they have caps. Oh no, are you kidding me? I might be able to get back on right here. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Let's do that. I think the ladder animation is literally just Mega Man, one sprite flipping left and right. I mean, it's smart. And when you don't have lighting baked into the character, you can do a little bit more of that. Because by the time they're doing Super Nintendo, they would typically light a character from a specific side in the art. Just they would draw a light source on them to add more depth to the character, but it made it more obvious if you're animating something like that it was flipped. Where the more simple it is, the more you get away with it. Oh no. Okay, let's do this again. I love the transition to space. Probably just... Actually, I gotta see this. This is not gonna be ideal, but... How does it transition? Is it just transition between stages, or I guess it already finished transitioning? Went from straight blue to this, so... Curious if they just had... They, like, literally just transitioned all the tiles from one to the other, whether it was a smooth blend or not. Okay. The ladder is a simple tile over and over again. What? Okay. They really, you know, it's interesting to think how the transition to almost the space background happens as you climb the stage. So it gives you the sense that you climb so high that you're like almost in orbit of the planet. Oh man, I didn't even have a chance to analyze his attacks. I'll have to do it at the end of the game. It's crazy how they did all of this with such little RAM. Like, they had so little processing power, so little RAM when they were making this game. Like, all of these old consoles, NES, Genesis, Master System, TurboGrafx-16, Super Nintendo, even the original DS and Game Boy Advance SP, yeah, Game Boy Advance in general, they had to do so much trickery. Like, it's amazing how much of it was just like, you know, and some of it was like actual technical mastery. They had to figure out how to do things that made it look like you were like riding on a motorbike, or, you know, having parallax is amazing. It's amazing what game developers have done with parallax over the years. You don't see too much of that on Nintendo specifically. It's more the later consoles that you see devs playing that with that more, but come on, okay. Oh, what? Oh no. Oh, I missed out on some stuff because of that. Get back on track by falling down here. Okay. So with this one, they're cycling the colors between those blocks, and it makes the whole stage animated. Oh no. Okay. There we go. And it's actually amazing how much more this stage feels animated than some of the stages before it. Even though the background's just a solid tile everywhere, and then they use these pretty much, what, 3 or 4 configurations of blocks? Okay. I know that the boss is weak against Crash, but I pretty much always fight Flashman with the regular Buster. Okay. Let's analyze the art for them. See, I mean, this game uses the outlines on all of the characters and enemies. Flashman was an interesting fight because Flashman behaves the most like your character out of everyone you fought so far in the game. Most of the other characters Oh no, what? Oh, come on, that was robbery. It's interesting how they added the slight twinkle animation in the background here. When Flashman does some moves, seems to be tied to when Flashman does this move here, but it spawns that particle all over the place. I mean, I don't know if you could call what NES did in this regard particles. I'm doing worse than I did last time. Oh no. Come on. This is the most pitiful I think I've ever done against Flashman, but that's of course what anyone would say. You know, odd, if you look in the background there, it actually looks like there's blue flowers hidden in them. Okay. There we go. Okay, next one. It's like a simple brick for the background. It's kind of interesting because it seems like they use like analogous color scheme in the menu system in this Mega Man, and then they contrast that with kind of more complementary or just a harder split on the color palette when you get into the actual stages. This always takes for absolutely forever. Okay. Let's do this. Quick Man. Dun. This level, like, this feels like you're in a space furnace somewhere, like somewhere really surreal, and the music really reinforces that. Like, if you compare this to like Mega Man, even once you start getting to 8, and I love Mega Man 8, but it starts feeling so much more like Earth as it goes further and further in this series, whereas this feels so alien. You have just beams of lava lasers shooting across the entire stage. You have this like harsh circuitry aesthetic all over the place. How many? Okay, that's my full free man. Okay. And even down here, it's like now it transitions to being like dark, and then it only comes back on when you see the enemies, and it's like this. Oh, where am I? What's going on? This whole level is really intimidating. It's one of the more intimidating levels you get in the original Mega Mans. Maybe Mega Man 3, Gemini Man is similar in some of that regard, but typically, like, Mega Man loses this kind of weird intimidation that you get in the older games, in the later games. Like, this stage terrified me when I was little because, well, first of all, this part here, it's like, I don't know how many times that you had to lose to memorize this, and I'm passing this now probably so much more just from muscle memory than skill. Knowing which direction to fall. I mean, you can use Flash to get through that easily, but then you lose Flash on Quick Man, and Quick Man's one of the hardest bad guys to fight in the game, so it's worth saving Flash for him. Oh, of course. Well, let's see if we can do this first try. Make up for the lives I lost on Flash Man. Look at this. So, it's amazing what they do with such a simple tile set in this game. They have a little E in an E or an F in the bottom tile, and probably unintentionally. Okay, let's flash him. Takes his health down by half. And now it's pretty cool doing that split 3 boomerang on the attack, having it idle in location, and then shoot back across the screen. You know, and also just having things explode into balls. Like, this is all really smart use of assets. And not all NES games did this to this degree. There's some games that really struggled trying to get that kind of aesthetic properly. Okay, one more stage. Let's do this. Like, where is this? I mean, pretty cool that they used this, like, looks like they did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different tiles there, and then they have this cool shadow tile up from the base here, just to give you an extra sense of the fact that the light is actually coming from the lava, which is really smart. This uplighting that you would only get from an area like this, just to make it feel even stranger that you're going through these lava catacombs. And it's just one tile to give that sense, but it's remarkable what. And you probably don't even think about it, right? But it's just like little touches like that are the difference between the games in this era that had a little bit something, were a little bit more special than other games visually. You know, and it's like, it was hard to even analyze it, to see subtle shifts like that, and you had such a budget. So even blocks like this, that shine animation on it, differentiates the blocks, lets you know these are special blocks, there's something going to happen with them, they're going to be around, they're not going to be around forever. Okay. Of course. Wait for that. This one can kill you if you're not... There we go. Okay. Where is it? There we go. Jump. It's interesting because they have the hard drop shadow on these blocks here, but it's probably because they don't want to confuse the players on the fact that that's the ground that you have to interact with. Okay. Didn't feel like losing that on that over and over again on video. Okay. No, whatever. Didn't want to bother with them. Okay. Now we're on Dr. Wiley. Not Dr. Wiley, Heatman. Let's do this. Now this whole level is more or less monochromatic, like a really smart use of... not monochromatic, yeah, monochromatic. It's primarily all in the red space. Okay, there we go. And on to Dr. Wiley. It's crazy to think that they actually, between the skin color and the eye color of Megaman, it's such a subtle tint that you can barely even see it. You think that they would set them slightly further apart, just so you have a better ability to read it visually. Okay. Look at those eyebrows. These castles, like being able to do this, that many unique tiles to build an art asset like this on the NES was pretty difficult to do. I mean, there's some places where they're clearly tiling, like the bones on the top right and on the that pillar, but a lot of it they had to have unique tiles for. And fresh ground here. Okay. 3. Like these crates and how they do a really good sense of adding shadow to these tiles here with that blue color. So they use the green for the base, and then they have that blue just to show where that would be cast in shadow. And it's such a nice transition to the top of those tiles for that specific asset. The animation for that is literally just flipping the sprite left and right. Okay. Let's do that. Ooh, now it's time for the hardest jumps in Mega Man. Oh, I did it! Those ones always drive me nuts, because it's so hard to do it without... Come on. A little bit more. Right here? There we go. Okay. Nah, I don't need it. Maybe I'll get it just in case. Okay. Up we go. So these bricks, I think this is when they're starting to get more into the testing of lit sprites. And you can see it here on the wall on the right and in the bricks where you have them lit top left, where they use that little yellow in the bricks to determine where the light's coming from. And you see the same thing echoed in this wall over here, where you have the white ones on the left side of it, trying to create a cohesive lighting. They should have used that space transition they spent so much time on Flashman stage here. Okay. No. These transitions where you're like, oh, what's happening here? Now you can charge up heat, and you can have, you know, one of the first times, I think maybe it was a Mega Man 1 as well, but one of the first times you have charge in Mega Man, but... And doing the same thing that they do later, where they cycle the color changing the sprite itself. I love these big boss sprites that you get. Okay, but it's way easier to beat him with this, and then you don't have to worry about missing with... Done. But, I mean, it's a huge sprite sliding around, and they primarily animated just those little wings in the mouth, and the rest is probably just static tiles, but they really do a good job moving that around and making it feel threatening. Okay. Same thing here, you're seeing lighting in these bottom tiles where they have slight lighting all top left, and they have a little cast shadow bottom right, just to add depth to this texture set specifically. Looks like 3 or 4 frames for that there. Ooh. Am I even hit? I have full health. Oh, what a waste of an energy tank. I like these low contrast patterns in the background you have here. They do such a good job not interfering with the environment, but adding depth. It's like, for when this game came out, this is all pretty remarkable. It's like, yeah, I know games do this all a lot better now, and modern pixel art games don't have any of these limitations, but there's something cool to having a world you can build with blocks like this, as opposed to... Like, I do a lot of things where I do unique art, and it looks better to have unique art for an entire background, but obviously it's just not as flexible. You can't make as many stages as you want using these kind of tile sets. Like, something really special, like in Star Renegades we used a tile system like this for the maps specifically. Initially I had done big painted versions of them, but they just weren't gonna hold up long term. And we needed to be able to make lots of stages flexibly, and to do that you need to make robust palette sets, tile sets. Okay. There's probably like some secret speedrunner things that I'm missing about how to shave massive amounts of time off in this game. Hopefully I beat it in under an hour. Okay. This boss. This is a smart use of a boss, just using your tile as the boss itself. So they just transform. How many frames is that transformation? It's like 4? So they just do like a nice 4-frame transition. And then they have an idle animation that's just coming at you. I don't even know if this enemy shoots at you. I pretty much always kill it before it would even have the chance to. Flash the screen. Now I see why they have seizure warnings. Just to add the impact on having beaten the boss. It's cool how they actually fade that entire thing to blue just so you can see the map better. I'd love to talk to one of the creators of this at some point in time. I can't hold any more energy tanks, but I can hold more... Is it even worth it? I get more metal. I'll need to fill this up again before the next stage, though. It's just trading Crash for metal, though. Okay. Oh no! Can I get up? Okay. Let's get a Crash back. Whatever. Okay, what's next? Let's see what else I can fill up. Yeah, I don't really need the platforms as much. All of this before Rush. Now, I feel like this is the most out-of-place sprite in the entire game, this fish sprite that comes over here. It doesn't feel like it's treated evenly with the other large assets in the game. I don't know if it's because it's so flatly colored, and most of the other assets like this have a secondary tone on one side or the other to give the sense of light. But I always felt like that asset felt cruder than any of the other assets like that in these games. Now, this is cool because the transition between here and here is really just a shift in that tile. They've literally just shifted it to make the area feel different from one spot to the next. As you're getting deeper and deeper into this... Okay. I think I always forget this boss because it's so easy. But, I mean, it looks cool. It's cool to have such a giant boss. So they have 2 frames for the... it's like a giant Guts Man. But this is where they're starting to get into the Megaman style for the enemies, where you have the big eyes and features on them. Feels... You know, like it has a lot of girth and like just like the way they do the eyes and the mouth and stuff. They were getting into a style that they didn't really have with Mega Man 1, and they carry this through for all of the games following this. It's cool to see a game find its identity. Like, the first game was testing the waters, and then visually the identity gets stronger and stronger. And then they also get a little tired with the identity when you get to Mega Man, like, 5 and 6, and then they have to try to reinvent it. And I feel like they did a better job reinventing it with Mega Man X, especially 1 and 4 and 8, Mega Man 8, than they did reinventing the visuals of these. So this is the same tile, this purple one from the last stage. Now it's just color shifted to give more of a sense. How many lives do I have? I have 8 lives. I don't need to go get that last one. It's just a waste of time. I'm pretty sure it's... Oh, no. I was going to say it's that one over there that you fall through. For the floor. I don't want to fall all the way down. Because I think it's... This one's fake. And then the 2 are safe. And then that one afterwards is fake. This... I can either jump like a maniac, or I just use item 2 on it just to make sure I don't have any issues. There's so many colors in those spikes, it's kind of interesting. Not worth getting the energy tank, already full. They're using the same background tile, but it's crazy how just switching to an analogous blue to purple color palette has changed this tile set so much to feel like a different stage. It's a cool like wall tile here, but these games really feel like somewhere completely different. It's something that I wish games felt a little bit more strange than they currently do. I don't know if that's, you know, something that other people feel as well. And I love modern games as much as anyone else, and I get excited for new games all the time, but I do, some part of me just, and it might be nostalgia, it might be 100% nostalgia, or it might be that the limitations on games from these eras created something really special. Ooh, do I do this the proper way, or do I do this using 2? You know what, I'll do the jump. Let's see. Right now. Okay. Whatever. Just take the hit, move on. I don't think I need Flash for anything other than Flashman later. Okay. Maybe I use an energy can for once. This boss is interesting because obviously it's hard not to get hit by him. You can fall at specific times too. Oh, great. And then I just walk into it. Okay, I gotta use the energy tank. Now, if you use a crash here, you will actually lose because you don't have enough crash to actually do everything in this place. Oh, great. They hit me at that time. Okay, let's do this again. Okay. Jump. Let's look at the crash animation. So it cycles to white, and then... Oh, you can't get up here. You have to use 1 or 3. Okay. Up you go. Oh, I want to make this jump. I hate these jumps. Oh, great. Okay, let's do this again. Come on. Oh, great. I am not doing so hot this time. This is not my best playthrough of this. Okay. Let's crash that up. Sometimes you get lucky and it blows up that door with that same crash, but it doesn't happen very often. Okay, done. No more crash. Okay, getting to the end. Let's beat these. Now, hopefully I get a chance to look at that animation I missed last time. Now, this is a 30% chance I'm going to need metal against whoever I'm fighting. Oh, no, not this one. Okay, let's get Bubble out. Okay. If you shoot him fast enough, he doesn't shoot back. Okay. Airman. Okay. Same thing as before. Done. Next. Okay, Woodman. Some of these you run the risk of beating them and then not being in the right space to get the health when they're done. This is one of the ones where you just might not be in the right space to actually pick up the health when you beat him. Oh, I jumped over just to get it, and then I end up probably losing more health than I would have got. I like the schematics in the background there that are just cycling over and over again. This is basically a free one. Ah, this might be the worst I've ever done against Bubble Man. Okay. Next. Quick. Oh, did I ever refill my flash? I did not. This might be interesting. Oh, I should have healed. Ah, whatever. Still had 8 lives. Yeah, so they have like a small version of the schematic, and then they have big versions of it, and then they look like they have some kind of radio thing here. I mean, this isn't my favorite color palette for Mega Man, but it looks like it's a split complementary, maybe? Oddly enough, it's almost always better in Mega Man to be hit by what they're shooting at you than it is to be hit by their body, by them walking into you. Okay. Done. Let's take care of the rest. Okay, so let's take a look at these animations. So, I mean, it looks like they're mostly cycling, it's like a 2-frame explosion that they've created. Just multiple sizes, and it just flashes between them really quickly. Okay, Metal Man. Now, I never use Metal Man's weakness. It's probably heat, but just never even bother doing it. You just dodge well. Like, it's kind of like fun to do this as a dodging challenge, as opposed to... I really like Metal Man's animation set. It's so smart, as, you know, it has this extreme frame where it raises this thing up that shows you so much anticipation. So you get a sense that he's about to do something. And it's just like little telegraphing like that from these enemies that really make their animation special. A lot of games, when they fail to help you understand what they're trying to do, it's because they don't telegraph enough. So it's like this guy here, he telegraphs his animation when he freezes. So he does a different pose, and then you're frozen, and they flash the entire screen. So they do a lot to communicate with the player, hey, there's a changing state right now. And it's all these little smart things that games do that make a big difference in how they play. Oops, just dropped my controller. Okay, time for the end of this. That little bit of just outline on the edge to give a sense of where the glass is, and then... Oh, I wanted to try that one with fresh health anyways. It's amazing how many large sprites they have in this game. I'm curious if there's any reused things that I'm not aware of. Like, let's say that big wheel thing on them is actually being used for that previous room. They had those big wheels that turn. Like, there's possibilities that they do smart things with the sprites like that. Okay, use an energy tank. Okay. A lot of flashing. I like how they explode the floor, though. They were doing lots of those little balls and stuff along the floor. It's kind of interesting. It's like this entire game is just a matter of expressing simplicity as much as they possibly could. And finding like every trick they possibly could to communicate everything they needed to in the simplest way possible. And they became, like, Capcom definitely became masters at this through the NES era. And I mean, there was obviously a handful of other studios that did this just as well. But, you know, for me, this is like a comfort game. I come back to this game because it gives me the feeling of why I like games. Why I obsess about games the way that I do. That, you know, the way that art changed, teleported me to another world in games. And Dr. Wiley turns into an alien. Oh, let's see how many frames. Oh, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 frames for the transition. That's something special. Now they spent more, it looks like, on that transition than they spend on this version of Wiley, the alien Wiley, because it's really just 2 frames cycled breathing, flipping over and over again. Which is, it's funny, right? It's like, this is actually one of the simplest animations in the game. Now, obviously it reveals that it's on a, like, weird mechanism. And if you think about how much they've spent asset-wise already in this game, right? It's like, if I lose this, even though I might not get hit, but it's like, if I lose it, I have to do this whole thing over again. Might as well just use it and... Okay. Almost done. Beautiful. Oh, that sound. Then we get that little orb at the top that's animated. It's 2 frames, but it still gives you the sense of rotation, which is interesting. You have to really pick your frames smart to give that. Intelligently. There we go. So, this is Megaman 2. Now, growing up, this was a game that inspired me visually in a lot of ways. I used to draw Megaman all the time. Like, this walk cycle at the end, everything here, it just makes you feel, right? It's like, the whole point of making a game is, well, making a game like this is trying to make the players feel things through the art, the visuals, sorry, the art, the music, how it all comes together, and... You know, like, just having this, it's like, it's almost somber. It's like, you just saved all of this. You went through, you challenged yourself, you strived, and at the end, all that's left is, like, almost sadness in a weird way. And I don't know, this made me yearn for the next game in a way. Now, how many frames is that walk cycle? Maybe 4 or 5. He leaves the helmet, right? And then it's like, oh, maybe he doesn't need to fight anything for a while. Maybe everything is okay. And that's a cool feeling, right? It's like, this is the end. And, I mean, visually, this is such an inspiring game. It was, you know, one of those games that really stood out to me. And, I don't know. I drew Mega Man everywhere. I was making my own bosses. I was making my own, like, powers and suits and stuff for games like this for years. I used to take the manuals to school, and my mom and dad couldn't get me to read novels, and there was actually a Mega Man 2 novel that told the story of Mega Man 2 as a novel, and I had it and I read it a few times. It's kind of funny how impactful this was when it was, you know, comparatively to what exists today. It's so simple, but anyways. This was actually the first video game I ever received. So, I mean, my family had video games and stuff, but my babysitter actually came and bought me this game and gave it to me, and it was the first game that was just mine. And that might be why it's such a thing for me to go back to, because this goes all the way back to when I was like 3 or 4 years old, getting better at this game, and then having this challenge to live up to and try to get better and better at it till you could beat it consistently. But anyways, thanks for going along with this journey with me. Let's see how long this was. So this was... Ooh, I don't know how long this video is. I'll have to take a look in a second. Okay. Get down the credits. Most of the pixel artist reacts. I'm not going to go through the whole game, but if it's a game I know I can beat relatively quickly, I might, just to get that sense to it. So that was Mega Man 2. Okay. It's a game that inspired me visually a lot. It's a game that I look to when I'm doing pixel art nowadays. I mean, not as much as maybe something like Castlevania or a lot of other games, or modern games like Hyperlight, or you know, what's going on currently in pixel art. But there's still something to be said about going back to the simplicity of the classics. There's something special there with how little they had to work with and how much they had to communicate. And when you do modern pixel art games, you don't have those same limitations. So you have to choose where you're going to be limited with modern pixel art games. You know, you can go light with animation or light with... you can try to match the animation level, having simplistic animations, which some games do, or you can limit your color like they did with those games back in the day, but you don't have to do any of those. So now you can make a pixel art game that has no color palette limitations, but is really limited with, let's say, the base colors before the blends. Or you can have a game where the art is limited, but the animation's unlimited, and you can have so many more frames than they could ever put into one of these games. And there's something worth going back and revisiting about these past classics, because obviously they didn't have a choice in that, and there's something about drawing pixel art that made me better even with other art when I was doing more concepts or doing full-on characters, because there's something about looking at things simply or working in a simple way for a long time that helps you understand things more completely. Because when you only have a couple of pixels to make a decision which way to go, whether to go up or down on a pixel, it makes a look very different. And then when you're trying to communicate those things larger, you might push your designs a bit further, because you've seen how much those things, when you try to simplify it down so much, it can be important. So anyways, thanks for coming along with the ride. Ride with me, like and subscribe, and yeah, catch you on the next one.